welcome to another Art for All lesson with me, Samantha from Twinkle. This is our penultimate lesson, so we've got this week and then we've got one more art lesson for you all to teach you a few art tips and tricks and help refine our art and really improve our drawing skills and looking at lots of different artists as well along the way. So we've been having so much fun looking at so many different artists and doing lots of different drawing styles. So it's been brilliant, all of you doing this with us. So if we have a look at some of the brilliant drawings that you have been doing, they have been amazing. So remember, we have looked at lines we can make with our pencil, we have looked at shapes, we have looked at patterns, and we've looked at shading as well, and then we've combined those all together looking at lots of different shapes. So last week we did a few biscuit drawings and a few of you have sent those in, and these are absolutely brilliant. I love how you've used your shade. You can see you're looking really carefully at the shades, at the patterns, where all the shapes are fitting together. You're thinking about what lines you're using. It's really, really good. So you just keep developing those. So thank you to those of you that have sent these pictures in. And then we've also got some more as well. So we've also got these fairground rides, where it's a brilliant one, so you can see all of the shapes, and you've looked really, really carefully at all the different shapes we could see at our fairground, at our circus, so well done at you for doing that. And we've also got a Rubik's Cube. Now that is really good, because what you've added here is that extra element of perspective. So everybody knows all these squares on a Rubik's Cube are square. They're squares on a Rubik's Cube. However, if you look really, really carefully at it from different angles, those squares kind of change shape, and that's the perspective. And you've gone really well, really looking at those shapes that have been made by the squares in order to add that extra perspective. So well done. That is absolutely brilliant. So that's some really, really good drawing. And I see you starting to add in some colour as well, some shade to those Rubik's Cubes as well. So that is brilliant. That is some really, really nice drawings everybody's done. So thank you so much for all of you that have been sending those in, and do keep sharing what you've been up to. We've got a lovely Facebook thread where you can see all of the different pictures we've had, and they're all brilliant. So thank you to everybody who's shared all of those pictures, because I love looking at them every week and seeing what you've been up to. And it also helps me to then decide what we need to do in the next lesson, where we should focus our lesson on. So thank you everybody that sent those in. So in today's lesson, we're going to be focusing on eyes, because last week was biscuit. So we're going to think about, again, all of those things we've learnt about line, shade, pattern, and we're going to do a bit of a drawing of an eye today, and looking at some different skills to help us develop our eye drawings, and as well as looking at Leonardo da Vinci. So we're going to have a look at him as our artist this week as well. You might have heard of him. He's got a very famous painting, but he did all sorts of stuff as well, which we'll find out today in today's lesson. So I've got a brilliant lesson for you today. Now, first thing we need to do is get your pen and your piece of paper, and we're going to warm up our pencils. So this is a really fun exercise, because all I want you to do is warm up your pencil. So let's get your hand moving, get your fingers moving, get the blood in there, right? Let's get them all up and running, get the muscles going. And I just want you to take your pencil for a walk on the page. You can do whatever you like on your page. You can do a nice squiggle, you can do some shapes, you can just let your pencil roam free on the page. Let's just warm it up nicely. You can go as fast as you like, you can go as slow as you like. You could do some zigzags, you can do some squares. Let's just warm our pencil up, just draw whatever you feel like. Just add stuff in to your page. There we go. Right, I've got a lovely drawing there. Just warm it up. You can do this as many times as you like. If you need to do some more warms up, you can do that as well. So just have fun drawing all over your page. And then what we're going to do is see if we can think what we can actually see in that picture. So we're going to do kind of a bit of abstract thinking today, because we're going to think, oh, what can we actually see? Is there anything you can see in your picture that you could then turn it into? So if you wanted to, you could actually use another colour to try and make it more obvious what it is you're then picking out, what features you're picking out. Can you see any shapes that then make it look like something? So I don't know why, I think this actually looks like a big boot I've got going on here. Can you all see that? I've got a lovely trainer I happen to have drawn there, because I've got all these like shoelacy bits. So I'm going to add some extra shapes now. So I'm going to add extra lines to the drawing I've already done to make it more obvious where my boot is, and I can kind of see this one, so I'm actually going to darken some of the lines I put in there. Oh, I really like this boot shape I've got here, and all the laces I've got going down. I might actually add, oh yeah, I'm just going to darken up some of these laces, make it more obvious where the laces are. And then I've got all these swirly bits which I really like. It's like the front of the laces. And what else have I got going on here? So have a look at your drawing and see, is there anything else you can pick out? So we're kind of again doing the opposite way around. So rather than looking at something and seeing how we can draw it, we're drawing something and then seeing what we can make it look into. So I'm wondering what these kind of square swirly bits are. I don't know, maybe. Well, this is tricky, isn't it? I think I haven't made it easy for myself with my big squiggly drawing. So I'm just going to look at this a bit more, and I think, oh, maybe there's some cakes, because everybody loves some cakes. So I'm just going to make them more obvious. Oh yes, and they've got cream on top almost. Oh, trainers with some cream next to them. Is that what I dream of in the mornings? There we go. So I'm just going to, oh yeah, no, that's like the spongy cake layers. So there's all sorts of stuff. Oh look, there's all the cream swirling off my cake. There we go. Wow, who knew that was going to appear out of my drawing? I did not. That was I hope you're having as much fun doing this. So really think about what it is you can see, and then darken up some bits just to add them into your picture. So you can add however you like into your picture. So yeah, I've got some cakes going on there. I'm going to make these other ones into cake. Clearly that's what I'm thinking about today. So I'm thinking about cake. Do you know what that must be? It's like a psychology, it's like another psychology test, isn't it? So I must have worn a boot because I like going running, so I need to go for a run. And normally after doing a run, I do actually eat some cake because I feel like I've earned it, which is why, you know, I don't get any fitter, but I do get cake. So that might be why I'm drawing this. So think about, but you can just draw whatever you like. It's just fun to look at patterns and see what your eye feels, see how you interpret them, see what shapes you can make out. And again, this was just a little warm-up exercise to get our pencils going, get our minds going, get us thinking about what it is we can see, what we can't see, and how we interpret images. So really well done. So have a good squiggle, 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 and then see what you can make out. And do, like I said, you can do this as many times as you like. So if you want to be doing some more squiggling, do keep going. Do some more squiggling while I'm sat here chatting away about cake. And you can add in then more things into your picture as well. So like I said, you could even colour with extra colours, and we just started off with a squiggle. So this is a really fun activity just to get your pencils warmed up. So well done everyone for doing that, and all the fun things that you've seen in your pictures as well, because it is quite a tricky task to do that. So well done if you've managed that. Right, now we're going to, rather than just do some squiggles, we're actually going to look at some pictures to practice our drawing a bit more. So we're going to be using our eyes and just to practice our lines as well. So we're going to do 3 pictures, and I want to start with some clouds, because clouds are always open to interpretation, but they've also got lots of lines, lots of shapes, and lots of patterns. So all the things we have been looking at. So I want you to see if you can draw the lines in this picture. So just think about the lines in this picture. So remember back to our very first lesson. If you haven't watched it, you can always watch it on catch up because it's really good. And we've got all sorts of different lines we drew with our pencils. So how would you draw some of the lines you can see on these clouds? So I want you just to sit and practice drawing some of the lines you can see around the clouds. How will you draw them? Will you draw them slowly? Will you draw them quickly? How are you going to make them look fluffy? Are you going to just draw a nice straight outline? Look, I bet we're all picking. So I've kind of picked that middle cloud, but you might want to pick a different cloud. So pick a cloud and then just focus on the lines you can see. So how do those lines go? Where do they twist and turn? And then you can even think again, just like we were doing before, what shapes can you make out from clouds? Because looking at clouds, the shapes you can see can often be really fun to do. So again, I'm just looking at the clouds. I'm not sure if I'm seeing anything I can draw, anything I can make out in these pictures. But again, it's just really good practice for our line drawing and our observation, because we've got to do, rather than just looking at one, we're looking at both. So we've got to look at the clouds and our piece of paper, and back at the clouds and back at our piece of paper. So keep focusing on the drawing. So having a really good look at the clouds. If you want longer to do this, do watch this on catch up and just pause the video, or if you're watching on catch up, hello, and just pause the video at any time, because it gives you a bit longer to focus on your drawings as well. So really looking carefully at all those lines. And it's fun with clouds as well, because they almost don't have a line where the edge of a cloud is. Sometimes it looks really obvious, but because of the way clouds form, you know, they don't have a defined edge to them. So trying to draw the line of a cloud, kind of, it's not as clear as it might make out, because the more you look at the edges of the clouds, especially on some, I'm literally looking out the window and there are no clouds there, so but you can see those fluffy edges to the clouds. So we're just going to keep drawing our fluffy clouds, and I'm not sure I can make anything out of these clouds. You might be able to. Maybe it just, to be honest, it just looks like a nice cozy bed to me today. Nice and squishy, and all those fluffy lines. Like, how would you draw a fluffy line? Okay, so we're just going to sit and draw nicely all of those lines of our cloud, and do let me know what kind of what things can you see, what can you make up, is there anything you can make out there? The more you look at the clouds and all those lines on there, you might actually see more things come in. So that's why you've just, when you're doing art, you've really got to sit and focus, because the more you can focus, the longer you can sit and look, and you see different things. As you see, I'm kind of going over the edges of these lines because I think they look too defined, so I'm almost drawing kind of sub edges to kind of fluff up the edges of my cloud a bit with those lines. So we're just drawing kind of the lines of the cloud. So well done if you've done that, and thank you for all your ideas of what clouds we might be able to see in the sky, what kind of shapes you might see. Has anyone ever seen any really fun cloud shapes before? Sometimes you see all sorts of things. So it's really good. Right, okay, so we've done our first one where we've just looked at the lines. So that's way back to lesson 1 when we're thinking about lines, and we try to draw clouds with lines and seeing what shapes we can see. Right, we're going to do another cloud now. So if you're all ready to move on, we're going to look at some different clouds to draw. But if you haven't quite finished yet, you can always go back to that picture later. Like I said, you can come back afterwards, put it on catch up and do it that way as well. Okay, so let's have a look at these clouds. Now this one is very, as I've said before, there weren't very many, there weren't very many lines. So now this is almost, there's almost no lines, as the lines have all gone, and we've just kind of got shades now as in this cirrostratus clouds. I hope I've said that right. So I want you now to see if we can just draw the shade. So again, you might want to pick an area, you might want to focus on the whole picture and see if you can really pick out some of the shades. And this is really tricky. Okay, because clouds are white, so we are going to have to try and draw the areas where there is no cloud. So actually you could almost do this with a blue pen, couldn't you, and draw in the sky around the cloud. So you're looking for where is dark, where is light. So where do I need to look for the dark and the light, and really looking again at the shades. So we're just thinking about shades now, so we're kind of bringing everything together that we've learned and thought about in our previous lessons, and thinking about clouds. So it is really lovely, and this is again another nice activity because you could just do this at home as well, so you can actually do it in real life. So if you are somewhere cloudy today, you might actually want to just go outside and do some cloud drawings, and they're really fun to do cloud drawings as well if you've never done it, because surprisingly clouds move faster than you think. So you'll look at one, I'll draw that, and then when you look up again, it's gone, or it's changed shape. So cloud drawings are a really nice activity to do. Oh, look, you can see that almost doesn't even look like clouds, does it? My drawing now. So it's just completely up to you. But again, this is again another practice technique. So we just kind of practice techniques at the start of our art lesson, just thinking about shades. So it's not really our final piece, because that's what we're going to do at the end of the lesson. This is just really practicing our skills. Each time you practice, you're going to improve with those observational skills, with those getting the right shades in, and all those things. And like I said, now we're thinking about shades, so we're actually focusing on kind of different areas as well, to keep all of these different ideas going when we're looking at what we're drawing, to improve our drawings again. So I'm really enjoying all of the different shades I can see in these cloud pictures. So I hope you are all getting on all right. Has anyone seen anything in this cloud? No, I'm really fascinated. There's the more I look at it, the more I can see this. So I kind of looked at that side and like, oh, we're not going to see anything. But now I can see all these really cool swirly areas. It's kind of hard to point them out on the PowerPoint, but if you look really carefully, there's this kind of like swirly point. It's almost like a dagger, actually, which I have not managed to draw on here because it's in slightly, I haven't quite got my shading right, but yeah, there was like a daggery shape, which is cool, which I hadn't noticed when I first started looking. So that's why looking at all these shades and how it kind of all merges together to make these clouds is really, really important. So what else can anyone else see? What can you see? And how your cloud picture is going. So this again is really tricky. It's not the easiest thing we've drawn actually, but we're just drawing the shades. So if you wanted, you can make it very simple. Just do a big dark area over this side and lighter areas where the clouds are. So you can make it simple, as complicated as you like, and then the longer you spend on it, the more you can develop those drawings. Right, let's do one last cloud now then, if everyone is ready. We're going to do one last one. Now, can you think, we've looked at line, we've looked at shade, what might we look at on this one? So, what can you see? Let's have a look. So, what shapes can you see? So, this is an alto cumulus cloud, so the really nice white fluffy ones. What shapes can you see? Or patterns, because we have looked at patterns as well, and there's some really pretty patterns in there too. So you might want to pick out some patterns. You can just draw the patterns. You might want to pick out some of the shapes you can see. And this is a really fun picture for looking and interpreting what shapes we can make those clouds into as well, isn't it? So what shapes? So you could just pick one shape and draw that. You could pick lots, or you can pick a pattern and see what you can make out of this cloud. So I'm just having a really good look now. I'm going to pick one cloud, I think, to focus on. Can't really work out what it looks like yet. Okay, I'm going to go for an easy shape. But this is fun because rather than just kind of, I'm not as worried about my lines, what my lines look like, but I have thoughts about that, so I can always bring in how I did my lines later, but I'm really just thinking about the shapes and how the shape fits together around the other clouds as well now. So I'm just going to really get my shape of my cloud right. I think that looks like cake. I'm not sure I've ever seen, my cakes clearly go wrong. Just got too much cake on my mind today. So here and I'm going to add in the lines so it's a bit fluffier around the edges. Add in some fluff and a nice fluffy cloud. So really thinking about the shapes of those clouds and how you get on with those. Amazing. So and you could do a few of these actually. There's quite a lot of different shapes. Oh, I've just spotted one. Turn over my page now. That is a really nice shape. So keep looking because you see this. The more you look, the more you can see. It's kind of like it's just sat there, letting your eye look around and seeing what you can see. So here is another amazing shape. It's kind of, I really like it because it looks like it's almost got a fish tail at the end here when I look at that shape. But again, you could say, well, I'm just picking those lines because actually we have already looked at clouds and we know how fluffy they are. They don't have these defined lines, so we're kind of picking the lines. So you could, again, kind of fluff your clouds up a bit if you want to. You don't have to. You could then add in the shades like we were looking at with our second drawing. So it's almost like a mermaid's tail, isn't it? This is a really cool fish. I really like this cloud. I wonder if you can spot the cloud I'm drawing because that is really tricky because there are so many different clouds and shapes on this page. And then what else can we see? Okay, so just keep drawing, keep looking, keep thinking about what it is. Looking at your page, we're allowed to look at our page today. Last week, I loved everybody that shared their pictures when we weren't looking at the page last week. You all did very surprisingly well at that. It was really hard, but it shows how it helps you really look at what it is you're doing. And it shows how you really have to look at what you're doing and look at the image you're drawing as well to get it in the right place, because it's very easy to focus on either the page or what you're looking at, and you kind of don't do one or the other the most. You have to get that balance right between looking at your page and what it is you're drawing to keep improving and getting a really good image that you're drawing. So, not sure what shape that is. Can anyone make out what kind of shape that might be? Not sure. It looks like a chess piece or something, doesn't it? What do we think? It's very open to interpretation today. Very interesting shapes. We thought last week's shapes were interesting. We did some very easy shapes last week when we did squares and triangles and circles, and this week we're kind of doing a blob. Maybe it's a different way up. Okay, do let me know in the comments how you're getting on with your clouds, what shapes you can see. In fact, I can see a sideways love heart. There we go. I've been looking. I did not see how long we've been looking at this for, and I'm only just seeing that now. So what else can you see? Like, there's this really nice kind of, it's very fluffy. It's kind of got a little bit of a bump there. It's a very cute little sideways love heart. There we go. Right, I've found a cloud shaped like that. Can you find that one on there? What other things can you find too? And again, I'm just going to fluff it up a bit because the lines around clouds just aren't that defined as we're drawing them. And I'm also just going to add a little bit of shading, I think, as well. And again, you might want to do patterns for your shade. You don't just have to shade with the side of your pencil. You can do all of those techniques we've learned. So I could do some dots. Some of you have been doing dots, amazingly. You could do some wiggles. You can do all sorts because you're all so good at art. Every week it impresses me so much, the art you have been doing. So well done. So good. Right. Great stuff. So if you want to pause this and keep going, you can do. If you want to go outside and do some clouds, can do. But we are now going to have a look at Leonardo da Vinci. So let's have a look at our artist this week. So we've gone way back in time now compared to the other artists we are looking at. So he is a long time before other artists we have been looking at. And he was an artist, a scientist, and an inventor. So he did all sorts, and that's really nice because sometimes people get very defined into what kind of role or what kind of job they want to be. Like, I'm going to be an artist, I'm going to be a scientist, and he got to do everything. So he was super cool. So he was born in 1452, so that's a very, very long time ago. We need to have our world history timeline up to see what else was going on around then, because that's a long, long time ago. I don't even know who was the King or Queen of England at that time, so maybe someone will find that out for us. And he died in 1519. So he was in a time period in Europe known as the Renaissance, and it was a time when many advances were made in education, in science, in art, in literature, and in music. So there was lots and lots of change going on at that time because many advances were made in all of those areas. And he was sometimes called the Renaissance man because he was a master of many, many different things. He's amazing. I don't think we can quite fit in how amazing he was. So do go and look him up and find out more information about Leonardo da Vinci. And you can always write that in your art books if you've got those, or just find out some more information. You can make a poster about him. He was an expert painter. He did sculpture. He was an architect. He did engineering. He was a scientist. He's an inventor. And he was a writer as well. So he's considered by many people to be one of the most intelligent people of all time. So if you like art even a little bit, you could still be just as good as Leonardo da Vinci because you can do all of the other things as well. So he's a very inspirational person too. And he did lots and lots of different works. You might have heard about one of them. The most famous one is the Mona Lisa. I bet you probably know that already because that's how famous it is. So he's so famous, he's like a brand name still today, and you've probably just heard about his painting called the Mona Lisa because it's so famous. It's just a very common painting for people to talk about because it's so famous, and it's considered to be one of the best known paintings and most visited work of art in the world. Now, there it is. You might not think, I don't know, why is it so famous? What makes this painting so famous? But it is because it's by Leonardo da Vinci. So there we go. So he also was famous for all of his inventions. So he did all sorts of fun inventions. So he did all these contraptions and things to try and make different things work. So it was very, very cool. So this sketch here, so you can see it on the PowerPoint now, is a helical air screw, which was kind of like a flying machine. So it was designed to work in a similar way to modern day helicopters. Now remember, when was he born? Was it 1450 something? So that is a long, 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 long time ago. So this is way, way, way before helicopters, before flying. So, you know, the first aeroplane didn't fly until like 1912, around then. So, you know, he was years and years, decades ahead of his time. So he really thought, that's why everyone thinks he was so intelligent, because of all these things he thought up. And he sketched many other inventions, including a diving suit, a machine gun, and an armoured chariot. So he did all sorts of fun inventions too. So that's why he's such an interesting artist to look up. So do share in the comments. You can all have a quick Google, see if you can find any other fun facts about Leonardo da Vinci, and put those in the comments if you've got any good information to share. So let's have a look at some of his paintings now. And while we are looking at those, I want you to think again about all of those things we have been looking at in all of our lessons, because that's kind of the areas we've been focusing on. So what kind of lines can you see? What shapes can you see? What shading can you see? And are there any patterns? There's a lot to look at, there's a lot to pick up from his pictures. So this is the Mona Lisa. I think it's a very famous painting as well because everybody debates whether or not she's smiling. So do you think she's smiling? Do you say about that? I'm smiling. Right. But that is the painting we're looking at. So is there any light? Is there any shade? What patterns can you see? And just like the cloud pictures, the more you look at it, the more you start to see. So just spend a bit of time looking, really focusing on the picture. Are there any bits that suddenly you go, oh, I didn't notice that, which I am doing. Oh yeah, there's a few bits I've noticed now that when I first looked at it, I was like, oh, it's just painting of a lady. But no, the more we look, the more we can see. And remember, Leonardo da Vinci was thinking about these things as he painted it as well. So is there a reason why there's kind of hidden things in there? So what is it that anyone can see in the painting now that's starting to jump out of us as we're looking at it? So can we see there's light, shades, pattern, and anything else kind of hidden in the picture? So I can see a road behind it now. I don't think I've ever noticed that before. It's got a road and a bridge and like a river. And so, yeah, anything else we can see jumping out for us? I don't know what she's leaning on, actually. Is it a book? Is it her chair? Is she sat in a chair? All these more questions, so you keep thinking. And then why has the artist put those images in there with her? And also, interesting, I always want to know what colour her hair is, because I'm really looking at the colours and the patterns of her hair, because actually, she's got very straight hair at the top here, that's very obvious, but around the sides here there's almost like some curls to it. Can you see the way Leonardo has kind of tried to suggest curls? Do we think it's curly hair? And it almost looks kind of an auburny, kind of a gingery, deep, very deep ginger colour. That might just be the way my computer's showing it. It might not look the same to you, but yeah, the more we look at these pictures, the more we can see. So do share anything else you can see or any other Leonardo facts. Great stuff, everyone. Right, this is another famous picture. So this is The Last Supper. Again, you can look really deep into the picture. So start by looking at the shapes you can see, what lines have been made, where's the shading, where's the pattern, is there any pattern going on? There's definitely some very clear pattern on the ceiling, and that's got perspective, I'm going to try and say it right, perspective like we saw with the Rubik's Cube at the start. So there's quite a lot of perspective going on with this picture, the way it kind of goes deeper at the back. But then what's also interesting about this is the way you can kind of see everything under the table as well, actually. So your eyes immediately drawn to Jesus there in the middle, but there's quite a lot else going on all around him. So the way the artist has done it is so that your eye is drawn to Jesus, but there's all these other things going on around, like where you can see all the feet under the table. Is there anything interesting you can see on there? You might find it easier to look these images up on a computer if you're watching this on a phone, so you can see them a bit bigger too, and you can get different quality. And like I said, it's interesting because obviously seeing a painting in real life, you can see the real colours, but this has gone through a camera, which has then gone through my, it's been taken by a camera, then interpreted, then gone on the Twinkle website, then gone on my computer, and now it's going to yours. So the colours definitely aren't as defined as they would have been when you look at the painting originally. So do think about that as well, that this isn't the highest quality. That's why it's always amazing when you see art in real life for its real vibrancy as well. So, and if you do go and see art in real life, you don't just have to go to London to go to the big galleries. There are normally galleries all over the UK. Wherever you're based, there's normally some art galleries around, because people like to sell their art. Sometimes they have open studios and things you like to go around. So all sorts of stuff that you might like to do if you want to look at art. So you can always look at artists without going to big art galleries. There's normally lots and lots of local art galleries you can go and look at. You don't have to just look at big art galleries. Right, so our last activity then for today is drawing an eye. So that is what we're going to do as our final task for today. It's going to be our bigger picture. That's going to be the one that you are going to go away and do and spend a really long time doing it. So spend a bit of time, like we've said before, put some nice music on, sit down, perhaps try and do it just like straight after the lesson. Just keep going, just sit and draw your eye, and then you've kind of done it already, so you don't have to worry about doing it. But it's nice to spend a bit longer on doing a piece of artwork than all these quick drawings we've done of clouds and things. So if we have a look at an eye, I've got an eye for us to look at on the screen. Let's have a look if you haven't got a mirror handy. And scientists found out that actually all humans had brown eyes to start with, and people who have blue eyes actually have a common ancestor who was born 6,000 to 10,000 years ago with a genetic mutation. So there we go. So if we've got blue eyes, we are all linked to the same person from 10,000 years ago. So isn't that interesting? So I've got like, oh, can you see my eye there? There's my eye. So it's kind of a bluey, greeny colour. What colour are your eyes? Okay, so you could look into eyes a bit more while you're doing your drawing. You can kind of think about those. So you could think about how your eye colour is linked to your health. So there's all sorts of information. So actually people do actually look at people's eyes to check what might be going on. And irises are used for security purposes now. So because everybody's got their own individual iris, it's a bit like a fingerprint. You can actually scan that. And also the patterns in eyes are just amazing. So the coloured bit of your eye, the iris, it's just got so many different patterns in. So having a bit of time to look at that is an amazing area. And also the other reason why we're going to do eyes is the illustrator at home, it always says eyes are the window to the soul. So, you know, it's a good place to start. If you want to get your drawing right, getting the eyes right is a really good place to start when you're drawing faces. And there are lots of different shapes going on because we've got a very simple circle shape. So we know what a circle looks like, but the kind of, all the eyelid isn't this nice smooth area that sometimes we kind of draw it just as a semicircle. And actually when you look at it, it's got real shape to it. So you've got to spend a bit of time looking at that shape. So we're going to have a go at sketching our eyes and spend a lot of time doing it. Now, before we start, I'm going to give you a little bit like we did with the clouds, dividing your page into four picture. So we'll do this together. You can do it together, or you can do it with your own eye. Looking at the lines you can see, what patterns you can see, the shade and the shape. Before then, you start your final drawing of doing your eye. So rather than trying to do it all at once, go, oh my goodness, right, lines we can see. So, and you don't, this one, I'm not even going to worry about the shape. I'm just going to see what lines I can see. So I can see the lines around the eye are actually very, very kind of, again, it's not one straight line. I'm not just going to draw a straight line. A bit like this. Whereas the eyelid has got a much deeper line. So it's actually, that is almost a straight line. And then the eyelashes. So we're just thinking about some of the parts we can see. So we're just kind of getting our brain ready, we're getting our pencil ready, we're thinking about all the different marks we're going to make with our pencil as we do it. So I'm just going to draw some of the marks I can see, like some of the lines inside the pupil on the lovely beautiful coloured iris again. See how they're kind of just almost practice drawing it before I do my real thing. So those are some of the lines I can draw. You can spend a bit longer doing this again as well if you like. Right, next one, patterns. So what patterns can I see on the eyes or anything I want to bring in? So again, this is looking, oh, so if you look really carefully there, I don't know if you can quite see it, you can almost just make out the pattern on the skin. If you look really carefully, you start to see that kind of the dips, and it's like a brick formation if you look really closely there. And what about the patterns on the eyelashes? Are there any patterns there we need to see? Is there any other patterns that we want to bring in when we're doing the shading of our eyes? So it's almost like a little pre-sketch, thinking of some ideas. Is there anything else I want to bring in? And then the patterns around the iris. Again, I think there's this fun kind of, and then thinking again, remember when we did the patterns where we made them light and dark? Can you think about how we did that? So I'm going to make a light pattern and a dark pattern. Just practicing the patterns I can see. And also, even those tiny capillaries, all those blood vessels, looking after the eye, keeping it healthy, keeping it functioning, the amazingness of our body. all of those kind of tree-like patterns at the side there. So see how we're looking, see how each time we look, we're seeing something new, we're seeing something different. So I didn't even think about the lines of the capillaries, drawing lines, but now I just have. So that's why I'm really focusing on all the areas we can see and how wiggly they are. Right, so the next one we're going to do is shade. So exactly the same again as we did before. You don't have to, see, I'm reverting to normal where I just kind of shade on the side of my pencil, but actually I prefer shading now a little bit with some wiggles instead. It just adds that extra. So I'm going to practice, where's the shade on my eye? So where's the light, where's the dark coming from? Where's the lightest part of my eye? So I'm not worried about any lines now. I'm just looking for where the light and the dark falls. And we know there's that very dark area in the middle, but actually is that all just one big dark blob? Look, 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 look. Look really carefully, because actually when you look at it you start to go, oh no, there's almost, you can almost see the person reflected back, and then we're starting to see this window here, which is just kind of the, I've got my window there, so my eyes got the same reflection. And if you look really carefully, there's a tree in that window now. Your image of this might not be as big on your computer, so that's why it's easier if you've got a mirror and you can look at your own eye then. But again, we're just looking at all the shades. See how every time we do this, looking at the same picture, we are still picking up more and more. So I'm just thinking about the shade, I'm thinking about the tone, I'm just going, oh yes, this bit's quite dark up here. I'm just doing it quite quickly, but you can spend a bit longer doing this. Think about those shades. And then finally, let's do this one, which, oh, let's do the shapes. So what shapes can we see? So normally everybody starts, you kind of want to start with the pupil, don't you? Because that's a very obvious, nice round shape. Is it a perfect circle? It's a perfect circle. Can you see the whole circle of the iris? Because often you can't. So just think about the shapes you can see. Now I'm thinking about these eyelids, see? Kind of draw them as a semicircle, but which way do they go? You're all doing so brilliantly with your art, so well done. So I'm just thinking about the shapes now. And now I kind of want to put those 4 images together. So all of that looking I have done, I'm going to combine them all together to do my eye drawing, and I want you all to do the same as well. So you can just stick with this eye that we've got on the screen here, or you can do your own eye, or maybe someone you've got around you. You could ask a friend to sit with their eye out, because eyes are really fun to just sit and focus and draw for all of those reasons. We've got shape, we've got line, we've got shade, we've got pattern. There's lots and lots of things you can put in. So do share your beautiful drawings you've been doing in today's lessons, because we love to see them. We'll share more next week for our last lesson on art, where we're going to be doing colour. So bring all of your colouring pencils, all of your felt tips, because we haven't done any colouring yet. We've got a whole sketchbook full of black and white, so we're going to make lots and lots of colour. We'll do a nice colourful picture to finish with. So thank you all so much for joining me today, and we'll see you all next week.